Hi everybody, welcome to Face It and Fix It on CBC TV 8, YouTube, and of course Facebook. I am Joanne Haigh. We want to welcome our viewers in Barbados and of course around the world. Now before we get to our guests, I want to take a telephone call. A viewer reached out to us, and I'm hoping that you're all glued to your television screens or to your social media platforms and listen to her story. We are reaching out here on this program as we continue to assist Barbadians to fix their problems, or with fixing their problems as they continue to face many of them. Good morning. I want to welcome Chantal. She's allowed us to even share her picture with our viewers, and I want you to listen to her story. Good morning, Chantal. We're going to get her back on the line because she called. She is a mother of 6 beautiful children, ages 20, oldest child, youngest child 2 years old, and unfortunately she is about to be evicted. I don't know if some of you remembered a few months ago when we first started out our show, we were able to help another mother with her children with the help of one of our viewers we call Angel Annie. Good morning. Good morning, Chantal. Are you here now with us?
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I know we spoke before and you wanted to come on the show to share your story. We are sharing your picture with our viewers as requested by you. You want to give us an idea what is happening with you right now and the children as it relates to having a roof over your head.
Okay, right now I have court due on the 22nd. I was served 7 notice of eviction, and I am scared of being put out into the streets right now. I have 6 children, ages 20 to 2 years old.
All right, you mind if I ask you, the eviction is for non-payment, because I believe you said you had an arrangement with the owner to live there for free for a period of time?
Yes, please.
So what happened?
My husband, he brought me there. He left, and before he left, he said that he wanted the owners to kick us out. He's the friend of the owner, not I. And since we broke up, the owner has decided to evict us. So he left me and his children behind.
All right, so I understand that you do work. I wouldn't bother to say where you work, so please don't. But you do work, but your income certainly does not allow you to even afford a rental. And so what would you like this morning as we speak to Barbadians and we reach out? Because I know that government had stepped in. Something was offered, but you couldn't even afford that because you would only have $35 left
in my pocket, yes.
And the space was not adequate at all.
No, please, it wasn't. I was offered a unit, and it was too small. When I was left, when the deductions came out, I would have been left with $35. I still had to pay light and gas and water. I try not to cry.
No, that's all right. You take it easy. So I just want our viewers to understand, and we want you to tell your story. Of course, we want no judgments from people, because I know I asked that question because when I asked you, why didn't you take the unit? The response is exactly this. With 6 children and a very, very small unit, it was very difficult. And then to pay for that unit, the amount of money was even harder. So we know that you're going through some other issues. I wouldn't want you to mention that, but of course I'm going to ask you about the children and the support that you're getting from perhaps the same husband or the children. Is there anything that is being done to assist?
I only get $150 from my husband. That's all I get, $150.
And that was only a recent something?
Yes, please. That's all I get. That was only recently. I get no other financial support in any way.
Okay. And also you shared with us that you were having a problem. It's 5 girls, 1 boy.
Yes.
that you need some assistance with a particular problem with the boy?
My boy now he has started on drugs, and the environment that we're in right now is not adequate for him either, because that is really bad crowd is. I would just like help and support in moving before I'm evicted. I can't afford rent.
And you said that the boy is 15 years old and
he's 15.
And he has a drug addiction?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that your daughter...
My daughter had a mental breakdown. She was hospitalized for 3 months. We also have pets. And this breakdown is also due to what is going on at home.
All right. What I said we were going to do for you, as much as we can, of course, reach out to our viewers for any assistance. Right now, Chantel is looking for a home. I know government will give some assistance because they normally do a way of paying for the rent or assisting. But I also know that people don't jump to that because they believe that government takes too long. So anyone in the private sector who may want to assist in finding her a home, or she can find a home, but she needs some help, at least for now, through the social services in this country. She has 6 children, and 5 of them are girls, and the son is on drugs, and she needs help. What we're also going to offer you to, Chantel, I spoke to you and I realized that you need some financial help in terms of literacy, in terms of how to make the money stretch. Yes. And because I know you have some other commitments, some bills, and you can't seem to manage it, which, by the way, most Barbadians, myself included, managing our money is always a difficult thing. As it relates to the dogs, what would you like to do with the dogs for the time being? Because I know you can't afford the children and the 2 dogs.
No. If it's a way that I can either take them with me or get someone to keep them until we find further arrangements, I would appreciate that. And the dogs are actually the owner of the dogs is for my daughter that was mentally unstable. She was admitted to the psych ward for these 3 months. They belong to her.
And so how, I just want to ask you one last question in terms of how are the children, I know, but the daughter, how are the children coping with all of what you are going through? Is it impacting them as well as they continue to hear and probably see you not being in the best of spirits on a daily basis? Yes, it does. My 12-year-old has started to rebel. She goes to Parkinson. I don't think the others, they're too young to understand what's going on. But my 12-year-old has started to act out. All right, Chantel, we have your number. We are reaching out to Barbadians right now, not only just the government, but help us to help Chantel. And again, no judgments. Yes, she has 6 children, but she needs some help. And Angel Annie, I know you watched the show. You assisted us before with placing another mother with 3 children when she was evicted. I'm reaching out to you now too as well. So I'm going to speak to you later on in the day, Chantel, but we're going to take this one step at a time, all right? Yes, please. You do have a job, I know you do, but I know it's not a high-paying job, and I know your daughter is more or less going to be able to get something sorted out as well on a monthly basis coming. So we're going to help you out in terms of managing those paychecks, and we're going to try to help you find somewhere in the process. You stay strong. And you're not alone, all right? Okay, next, Mr. Hamlin. We have a Mr. Hamlin on the line. Quickly, he wants to let us know about his situation at his house and the flooding. Mr. Hamlin?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I believe we're going to show the video.
Yes,
you have a situation that you need some help from MTW.
Yes, please.
Let us know what it is. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Hamlin.
You want me to show the video?
No, we have the video and we will show it, but just tell us exactly what the problem is that you're encountering for the last couple of years.
Yeah, the problem is it's flooding in front of my home. You know, the water, have some water run from up by the 7th District, and it come down. Some days go down back the road, but a lot of it is divert to Jasmine Avenue. Right, this is my home here. Many times when I am out, my wife and I out, and when we have heavy rain, we can't get in. And as we in, and we have heavy rain, we can't get out. It is real frustrating, and we need some help because of flooding and it cracking up. Got my foundation to the front. My foundation is collapsing.
Okay, so you have reached out to MTW, I understand. How long this has been happening for? How many years?
Oh, this is from the 80s.
From the 80s?
Yes, please.
Wow.
I think around 1986, 87 in that area. You know, and as you can see, and plus I have a vehicle, and I got a apartment vehicle away about 50 or 60 feet from my home.
All right.
See where the foundation is there? The foundation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see the foundation.
Yes, please. And water penetrating up on it, the cellar. See, I had to do something to the foundation there at a time and to keep it from collapsing. You know?
Are you a pensioner now?
Yes, please.
So you and your wife, both pensioners?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right. Well, we will reach out to MTW and the powers that be, because I understand you said people from MTW came to look at it, not necessarily the property, but what was causing the flooding on the road itself and the water coming down to your home. So
yes.
Let's see how best we can get this problem fixed, all right? I know it has been long, since the 80s. Lord knows the governments have changed, God knows how many times. But let's see if your MP, together with the Ministry of Transport and Works, let's see if we can get somebody into action and get this problem solved once and for all. We're certainly going to try our best, okay?
Yes, please.
All right, Mr. Hamlin, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Coming up on our show today, we're going to talk about food security. What is it? What does it mean in these times? National Coordinator with United Nations Development Program, UNDP, Dr. David Bino will be joining us. LEAH Clark from Eden Consulting, who is managing a farming project in the Sojourner Foundation, with the Sojourner Foundation, will be joining us to talk about food security. And we also have a special guest, celebrity guest, Mr. Kirk Brown. We know him as a radio personality, entertainer, philanthropist, actor. He's going to wear his other hat as Farmer Brown. Yes, Kirk Brown actually does a lot of farming. And so he will be joining us and talking about food security. You know that it's the third Friday in every month that we feature another organization fighting the good fight on disabilities in this country, where they're looking for people to be sensitized and a level playing field. We have with us former public relations officer with the Senior Gravis Association of Barbados, DEANNE Phillips, and she is going to tell us about this condition. A lot of you might not have heard about it, and I believe the late Dennis Johnson spoke about it many times, as I believe that he too was afflicted with this condition. And get ready, it is GCF Fridays. You know what that means, with Dr. ELON CADOGAN with the GCF. He's the National Coordinator, Project Coordinator for the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. We also call it 5Cs. He will be joining us today, and we will also have Dr. Rebecca Shapiro from the City University of New York. It's all about food security. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I just probably said the answer because I did it in my intro a few seconds ago, but we'll repeat it because we're going to ask you, what does 5Cs stand for? And during that segment, you will be able to win today. You're going to take home a dwarf lemon tree, and believe it or not, it actually has lemons on it already. We have parsley, sage, we've got marjoram we're giving away today, and we're not talking about just the little seedlings. We're talking about a pot that is full of seasoning, and we know how Bajans love the seasonings. And of course, we want to give away lime trees, but we're not doing the limes today. We have a lovely dwarf lemon tree with lemons on it already, and we're going to give away some variety food trays. So you got to call us 228-5563 or 228-5562, or join us on social media, typing in CBC Barbados, and you can leave your comments there. When we come back, we will be talking about food security after the break. Why am I saying myself like this? Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Our first guest, Dr. David Bino, National Coordinator with the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, LEAH CLARKE from Eden Consulting, and of course, Mr. Kirk Brown. He is wearing his Farmer Brown hat today. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning and God bless.
Good morning. Well, let's start with the introductions of Dr. David Bino, the coordinator with the United Nations Development Program. You want to give us a little overview about yourself and your association with the UNDP as it relates to food security?
Okay, so the program that I'm responsible for with UNDP is the Global Environmental Facilities Small Grants Program. And this is a global program present in 126 countries around the world. We provide grant financing and technical assistance and capacity building to civil society organizations. We do so in 5 major and environmental areas, and these are global environmental areas. This is climate change, both in terms of adaptation and mitigation. We also provide support with reference to biodiversity conservation, the prevention of land degradation, the protection of international waters, and also the eradication of harmful waste and chemicals. So this is the broad framework in which we operate, but food security is a critical part of the work that we do because food security is a developmental issue and it's one of the thematic areas that we provide funding for. So we provide funding in the area of sustainable agriculture as one of those thematic areas that are cross-cutting across the environmental focal areas that we address.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Bino. LEAH CLARKE, I'm going to stick you right here in this particular one from Eden Consulting. What exactly is Eden Consulting? Is it an organization? Is it your company? And what do you do there as it relates to food security?
It's my consulting company,
Okay.
and I'm working with groups of farmers, individual farmers, to help them to organize their business. But I'm also part of developing an eco-retreat and working with the Sojourner Foundation on land that they lease, agricultural land that they lease, to develop a wellness project. Working with the Sojourner Foundation to run a youth farming and leadership program with at-risk youth. So that's where, we really focus on helping young people to understand the value of sustainable agriculture, understanding the importance of food security, and even looking at how we eat and how we can plant what we eat.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm going to turn now to Mr. Kirk Brown, because there's so many things that Kirk Brown does, and we all know him, obviously. He's hosting shows. He is a radio personality on Capital Media. He also, you see him around the community with building blocks, and he does a lot of work out there. And now, at least not now, ever since, but the secret is out now, Kirk, he actually farms as well. Welcome, Farmer Brown, we're going to refer to you as this morning.
Thank you, Ms. Haigh. Great to be on your show. I always watch it.
Thank you.
I appreciate the invitation.
Well, equally, I must say that I'm very pleased that I get the opportunity to interview you in this capacity. So tell us a little bit about what you do as it relates to farming, because we want to promote the whole backyard, planting in small spaces. And someone messaged me and said, you know what, you could find him outside early in the morning, or actually going out there and delivering vegetables to some people in the community. Don't know how true, but that's what they said.
They know it. We had the veg box concept even before that. Somebody used some of those from the community, and as you said, it started as a backyard. I used to plant in drums. Ironically, you mentioned seed burst. Place from there in terms of tires and planting in the half drums, and then evolved it to edible gardens, then more around the home. Then I met with Ian and Julie McNeil. I got to give them credit and appreciation. CPRI, Wired Barbados, and Slow Food Barbados, where we did a perma blitz, where students from UWI came and we just planted almost an acre of just everything you can eat, from farm to table. And the idea was to have, to do our part, at home, that each of us can grow. Get back to how Barbados used to be, a little kitchen garden. You're raising a sheep, some ducks. Depends on your space and capacity. So now to take that from more of the domestic into more of a commercial state, getting some young people involved, working with person, our esteemed colleagues here on this call and interview, and seeing what we can all do together. It's all about collaboration, and to show people that farming can be cool, sustainable, and still enjoyable. It's not a frustration, it's not a waste of time. It's not something that only a certain set or class of people can do. I'll say that bluntly, because when people see me as an entertainer farming, what is kind of trendy and glamorous farming, I've even had people say, don't you find it boring? So that's what we're here to face and fix.
Well, and let me add to that, Kirk Brown is also going to be, he started already, to be one of the faces you will see as it relates to the fight with the climate crisis with our very own 5Cs and GCF. So we look forward to seeing you with your face on that front. So we want to ask a question now back to Dr. David Bino about what constitutes food security. People hear the word security, and we just want the average person to understand. We've got a lot of high-level meetings, and we hear some clips in the news, and people could be lost in translation. Is it only relating to people who can afford to farm and plant food in bulk when we hear the word food security, or do we sort of bring in the backyard farming into that equation?
Excellent question. I want to break it down as simple as possible. So when we speak about food security, it's all about being able to have access to food. So it must be accessible or available. It must also be able to meet your dietary requirements. So you don't only want to have access to food, but you want to have access to nutritious food. But we need to go further with that definition. We spoke about access, we spoke about the nutritious quality of it, but it also has to be accessible at an affordable price. So take off those 3 boxes: having access or availability, quality food in terms of nutrition, also in terms of being able to afford that food is crucial. But I think we need to move beyond food security and look at the whole notion of food sovereignty. And the reason why I speak about food is because In the past, we thought that once we could be able to pay for food, that all will be well. But this current crisis that we're facing should demonstrate that that's not the case. Because recently, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and United Nations World Food Program would have declared just over a week ago that the world is facing a looming food crisis. So it means that even if you're able to purchase food because of the war in Ukraine, because of the rising energy and also the rising food prices, persons would not be able to access that food because the ships may not be coming as they came before. The increase in cost would mean that people would then basically prioritize which area they're going to put that food, and those persons who can afford to pay the most would be those persons who can access that food. And even if you can pay, if the ships are not coming, you can't access food. So the whole notion of food sovereignty is that every nation should have the right to be able to determine the type of food that they consume. You see, it must be culturally appropriate. It must also be produced in a sustainable way. And it means that ultimately you determine the food systems that are used to produce your food and the type of food that you consume. And we need to go beyond food security and go towards food sovereignty. But even in the context of food security now, as I defined it, we are going towards more insecurity rather than security. And I can explain from a global perspective how that has come about, and also within the context of the Caribbean, the issues that we face now. But I'll leave it at that based on your question, and then we can proceed further as we dialogue.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about food security and what you can plant in your backyard to feed yourself when we come back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. We're speaking with Dr. David Bino from the UNDP, LEAH CLARKE, Eden Consulting, and Mr. Kirk Brown. We all know he's wearing his Farmer Brown hat today. Now, we want to get to you, LEAH, and about the work you're doing in, we call Behind God's Back in Barbados. all the way in St. Andrew, off-grid. I understand you are doing some farming, organic farming with a number of organizations. You want to tell us a little bit about it and who is involved and what is the end goal? You're muted. We're not hearing you. Go again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So we have several acres of land in Turner's Hall, St. Andrew, and the idea is to farm sustainably, build community, and involve young people. So we run a youth farming and leadership program. This is the Sojourner Foundation, a charity that was formed in 2003 to deal mainly with young people. And it has evolved to really bring young people into farming in a way that they understand it's not just going and working in the ground. There's so many different aspects to it. And while helping to support the development of their identity and purpose and their character, we can do some farming. The program includes culinary arts. So we're working with JMP Farms on the culinary arts aspect of it, natural building on the farm, agro-processing. So if you have different interests, there's one thing that you can probably focus on within the context of sustainable agriculture. Young people are looking to be heard. And so, once we listen and hear, okay, what are your dreams? We can help them to focus on getting them to look at how they can be part of this sustainable agriculture. If, for example, you enjoy making smoothies or fruit juices, grow your fruit, grow what you are putting into whatever it is you want to make. And there's so many different ways that you can be a part of it, so that we're just trying to support them in whatever they want to do.
Including the planting of fruit trees, vegetables, ground provisions, all of those things. For sale, or for them to, these are for sale up at the retreat, they're for sale?
Right now, we are growing for ourselves and for our community. So young people can take them home, plant them in their gardens, and share with their communities. And we encourage them to start farming within their communities as well. Show their neighbors exactly what to do. And they take home seedlings, share with their neighbors. There's one student who's really passionate about it. And, he's showing his neighbor how to plant cassava and sweet potatoes. He's gone to some of the food outlets in Warrens and asked them, for sale as well, yes. Any surplus is being sold.
Okay, great.
So, they take the initiative and they go and ask what is needed, and this is what we're farming. Do you want this?
Okay. So, Mr. Kirk Brown, I want to ask you this. You move around a lot with the Building Blocks program, and I know you do a lot of that. No, I want to talk to the average guy out there on the block as it relates to food security. Or, break it down a little bit and say, look, we got to plant a little something to feed a little youth and stuff like that. How doable is it? Do we see a lot of it? And what can be done to encourage younger people in your age group? Well, you don't see young no more, but you know what I mean. In your age group, somewhat a little younger. How can we encourage them then to do this backyard planting, or planting, what I say, in small spaces? For example, if you're living in the housing units and there's not a lot of space in the back, what would you recommend out there for them, and how to encourage them?
Tell them, thank you, Joy. Good question. And it is simply time management. It's very easy to do. If you go, I have a lot of respect for elders. If you think back to Granny, all of us would have grown up at some point in some community, no matter where you're born across the world, and seen your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents out in the yard, out in the ground, out, So even with this space, it's even about gardening, farming, is that you really want to approach it early in the morning. I'm an expert. I have a passion for it. So let's get out there first. And you crack of dawn, 5 o'clock, you get out there and you do your little plan. You get in, you plant your tree. By 6, 7 o'clock, you could be out and heading to work, or out, working on the blocks or the building blocks or wherever you're heading to. It does not, I want you to know, it's not a deterrent. Some people perception that if they do, it has to be all day. And if you look at the real farmers, they go and dust the dog. They go hit it early when it gets too hot. It then starts to affect the animals, the crops. And then in the evening when you get home from work, if you're working or if you have to go for your children or whatever, you can give the garden a little attention. And what I've, and LEAH, Dr. Bino can say it, it's therapeutic as well. Because you find you're with the garden, the fact if you got your kids and your peers, you can see that light of the earth. And when you eat it, consume it, it's a different energy. Versus, if you purchase the packaged stuff or imported or the processed or frozen, versus when you take something out of the ground, literally, as we say, from farm to fork, and you prepare it. Most of us right are at 100 that we consume, we grow. So
and
I love what LEAH said just now. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I love what LEAH said just now. In terms of growing your produce, but not just growing it, eat what we have here. Locally on our plates, whether it's in your homes, the hotels, in our protein shakes, the Bajan fruits we know readily available. And if it can then mitigate the imports, the processing, the other concerns that we have as it pertains to farming, food security, food sovereignty, and climate change.
Okay, well, one of our sponsors for the tree giveaway that we would be starting today is ProSource Limited, and ProSource is responsible for those new garbage bins. So the whole idea is, what do you do with the old garbage bin? That's a picture of the lemon tree, I believe, there that is available today for a lucky person when they answer the question. But using half drums and those, the garbage cans that you got to repurpose. What do you think about that, repurposing it for that in various communities?
No, yeah. We work with many of those. We've done hundreds of those. In terms of cutting horizontally or diagonally, so long drum, get the short ones, something as well. So we be speaking plant world, there's also animal world, where you cut those and you put them out for the cows and the goats and the sheeps. You cut them in 3 that can be used for the poultry. I love the little beds being used, and again, Joy, you're right, you're repurposing them, so they're not wasted. You're not just dumping 100,000 of them or 10,000 into
plastic.
Dump. You're really getting them, and then you're seeing that, that's right, that's not good for us. You're seeing that life coming out, and as you said, it's the easiest thing. Even if you have a small home, a modest home, a small yard, you can fit quite a few of those in and around the yard, or you can have it on your perimeter to beautify. And the last tip, this is the sweat equity now. You gotta go with your pick and your hoe. There's a technique now where we have not just on property soil in your garage, driveway, or your yard. People don't like to see them with an elevation of a foot or 8 inches in the air. So you dig a hole, make it very simple, enough that you can get in, so about 2 inches, and then you get in. So that stops the weeds from coming up under you. You put some gravel in there, you're throwing some compost, some mulch. If you don't have it, you take some coconut husk. I mean, it's very simple. They're very cheap, expensive way is the farm, and then you got all those seedlings coming up, man. That garden is the most beautiful thing without the on-seed. And I know a lot of people don't like to see the drums in their driveway, so you can sink them, and then you have the plant world coming up, and it has a nice uniform circular appearance within your garden.
Fantastic, fantastic. So Dr. David Bino, we want to talk about some of the challenges, though, that you would have encountered the organization as it relates to food security. We've got a war, we've got a pandemic, we've got climate crisis, and those are some of the 3 major challenges. Are there any more right now? Because that then leads to high inflation and nobody has money. What are we going to do? How is UNDP going to save us or help us?
Well, you've been very clear. You actually highlighted 3 of the main issues that we face globally But before I go into that, just very quickly, I want to laud Sojourner Foundation for the excellent work that they're doing there in Terrace Halls Woods. I mean, it's a remote place, but they're doing a miracle down there. If you go and you visit, you can really like what you're seeing, and also the way how they're working with young people. I'm proud to say that the Just Small Grants program implemented by UNDP, that we were the first persons to provide funding for them when they moved to that location and help them to develop to the point that they are at now. I heard Kirk spoke about CPRI, the Caribbean Permaculture Research Institute. We were also there at the beginning when they were established in Barbados. So there's a lot of work that we're doing behind the scenes to contribute to food security. But with reference to the global issue, beyond the climate crisis, beyond the pandemic, we also have the issue where we have a shipping problem globally, and that shipping problem is causing prices to go up. It's also causing persons not to have the same access to food that they used to. People in countries like America and the UK, they are now going on shelves and not seeing food in Canada because of the shipping issue. There's also the issue in relation to the high energy prices. Again, that relates to the same war. It also relates to the issue that, right now there's a rising demand for energy again. So within the context of the Caribbean, what we're saying is that yes, we need to address food security, and we need to address it frontally, because in the context of the Caribbean, our food import bill would have gone from just over 2 billion in 2002 or so to now over 5 billion in 2018-19. So that's US dollars. In the context of Barbados, we went from around 2009 about, let's say, 250 million US to about well over 350 million US. So these are significant figures, and we need therefore to have not only a global approach to this, but a regional approach. And that's why we want to laud the Prime Minister as well for the work she's been doing, with also the President in Guyana, to work on food security regionally. So we need that, but we also need a plan at the national level. I know that the Chief Agricultural Officer is working on a plan with the Minister to ensure that we have a solid plan at the national level, but we don't only want to have these plans, we want to go towards implementation. And this is where we need action now. This is where we need all hands on deck. The private sector needs to come on board in a meaningful way. We need to make sure government is providing that policy framework that is clear, what is required from all stakeholders. But as Kirk mentioned, we need the bottom-up approach, where each person in society recognizes that this is my responsibility, because if the food does not come, it is my family that's going to suffer. It is me that's not going to be able to eat. So I need to know how to grow my own food. This is the time where we need to get down to earth, and we need to get very practical, because there's a food crisis, and if you're not prepared, you're going to face the consequences. Simple as that.
I'm not going to tell you a lie. This studio is very cold, and I didn't think I could get what we just call goosebumps, but you just gave me goosebumps just listening to it and the passion, because you're so right. But how do we we need to get the average person just to start. And only this morning, coming into the studio, I said, okay, we got the conversations, the discussions, but according to Beaches, we're going to make it happen. So even this morning with our giveaways, because we started with the Caribbean Climate Change, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. We want to start giving away some trees. Start the process, start planting. And so it's so important. And you give me goosebumps in an AC, heavily AC'd room. So Leah, actually we're going to wrap up a little bit here, but I want to Leah some final words or some advice. How can we implement, how can we motivate people to get started?
David is right. We have to be planting our own food. What is also really important is our mindset in terms of the food that we do eat. Just think about what you would have had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday. Some of those things, a lot of those things, most people can only find in the supermarket. We don't grow those things in Barbados. So, if you have rice and peas and macaroni pie most days, you got to be able to think of how can I substitute something that is grown in Barbados, like sweet potato, Edos, which is also healthier. So grow your own food and start eating the food that we grow here.
Okay, so Kirk, wanted you to final words also coming from you as it relates to younger people, because I don't think we need to convince the older folks to plant. I suspect most of the people who've retired probably got a little, some sweet peppers and thing in the backyard going on. But we want people like yourself. And again, let me just mention, for those of you who do not know Instagram, I think you have like over 90,000 followers. So we are looking forward and hoping that you can help us with this fight, because a lot of people follow you on Instagram. What can we do to help motivate?
We started it. I think what we can do is stay on that path. Collaborations, that's what it's all about. Like what Ms. Clark said, Dr. Bino, we need to do more research. And again, it's not rocket science. Head on out and just start planting. And when you start consuming it, you're really going to feel lighter and brighter. Good cooking a different meal, or every other day some steak fish, of course grilled, and then salad. So you got the plant world, you got the ones you can, you got your beans, your carrots, and it's beautiful. You just see them in the yard. Your sweet potato, you put them out and forget about them. 5-6 months, they'll just do their jobs, right? Edos, they're nice and leafy like a lily. So there's a lot of these plants. If you do your research, they can really beautify your home too. And get out there, the Swiss chard, the hill, and when you see the colors, it is really beautiful. It is really simple. It's not as complex as people sometimes can think. So, as we all are here, even with your show, Joyanne, we need to really plant. And once those supplies, some challenge, we got it there looming. Every week it seems like there's another crisis. So it is in our interest, the honorable, I think, genius. I love the food security program with Guyana, the sheep, the one tree for every Barbadian. If we harness, we got people giving away plants. We got persons giving away seedlings and willing to assist. I think we should be running out, harnessing those, and it can only, make all of us better if each person plays their part.
Fantastic. And Dr. David Bino, I'm going to wrap up with you. Final words from you, UNDP.
Final words. Yeah, this program has been inspirational, and I'm working on a program called Homegrown with the Government Information Service. Right in the last episode, and I've just found 2 people I'm going to add. I'm going to bring in Kirk as one of the examples of persons getting actively involved in producing their own food. We're also going to go down to Sojourner. But my final words, because I want to be brief and I want to be to the point. In the words of Carmita Fraser, food comes first.
Definitely, and a very good way to end the show. Always remember Carmita Fraser, and it is so true. Food comes first. I want to thank you, lady and gentlemen, for gracing us with your presence. Let's get this started today. Replanting today. Backyard farming today. Thank you so much for your help and your inspiration to many Barbadians and the people watching us in the diaspora. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Thanks.
When we come back, we will be speaking with the association called the Myasthenia Gravis Association. As promised, the 3rd Friday in every month, we will be featuring various persons in the disabled community, and in order for us to educate the public and put their needs, their fixes on the front burner when we come back. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It. Before I introduce our next guest, remember around 11:30 or so, you can call 228-5563 or 228-5562. The question for today, what does 5 C's stand for? What does 5 C's stand for? And when for? What does 5 C's stand for? And when you get it right, you're going to win that lemon tree. You're going to get some marjoram. You're going to get some thyme. You're going to get some sweet peppers. You're going to get some hot pepper trees, lemongrass, I believe. Today is going to be $100 worth. And the lemon tree, I might add, got on lemons already. In other words, they already got lemons ready for you to pick. So you got to call us and let us know what 5C stands for. We said it earlier on in the show. We say it every week. What does 5C stand for? And it is now my pleasure to introduce to you Miss DEANNE Phillips, former Public Relations Officer, Myasthenia Gravis Association. Welcome, DEANNE.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being so patient. And we know that we might be running a little bit behind, but thank you so much for being here. Now, as promised, in Barbados, we know that disabilities, we need more information. It needs more attention and it needs more policies. And it is our goal here on this show to ensure that message is shared and those fixes are done. So I want, though, before we start, because a lot of people may not know what is myasthenia gravis, could you explain to us, simplify it for us, exactly what is it?
Myasthenia gravis is a condition that affects the whole body, or it can affect the eyes only. So it is where there is a ACH, that is something that a transmitter, and that transmitter is not transmitting the signals in the body correctly. So because of that, you can have what we call ocular myasthenia, where it only affects your eyes. And with ocular myasthenia, you may see that the person's eyes look droopy, and it can progress also to general myasthenia, where it affects the whole body. So when it affects the whole body, it can actually affect your legs, and you can become weak, you get tired easily, and if it is progresses worse, it can affect your breathing muscles, so you may need to be intubated to help the machine help breathe for you if you go into a crisis and you are really bad.
So there's early screening, there's something that is on the checklist, there's just something that creeps upon you. What happens?
It's just something that creeps upon you. There's no early screening, and it's not even genetic, because I'm the only person in my family that has myasthenia gravis. Mm-hmm. So it was, in my case, it was just a case where I went to work one day and I was drooping, and my supervisor said she didn't like that, being that I was sitting on a computer screen. She sent me to the doctor. The doctor at Fast Track was unsure what was going on because there was no infection in my eye. There had been no trauma to my eye. So she sent me to the eye clinic at the hospital. And when I went to the eye clinic, that is where the doctor, at first they were all stumped because they could not figure out why my eye was drooping. But then she said, okay, I think I might have an idea of what's going on. She consulted with Dr. David, and they said they would treat me as if I had myasthenia gravis, and if the medication worked, then that would confirm their diagnosis and the medication worked. So that was how I got my diagnosis of myasthenia gravis.
Wow. So what are some of the challenges now at work? Is it a case of having to be home for long periods? And what is that like?
It can be a challenge at work, because with myasthenia gravis, outwardly, sometimes we can look fine, but our bodies are feeling weak, or we are not feeling up to it today. We just feel like just laying down because we're so tired. But you still have to get up and perform at work in the land of the living, or in the land of the healthy. So many times you're at work and you really don't feel well, but you still have to push through. It can be very hard. I won't lie, it is very hard, but what I've learned is that it gives you a drive, because as long as some people know you are sick, they see you as a liability, so you don't necessarily get to actually relax, or you feel as if you have to go out there and try to work harder so that people see that you're actually an asset to the organization instead of a liability.
Wow, I remember the first time I heard a little bit about Myasthenia gravis was from the late Dennis Johnson from Starcom Network. We didn't know a lot about it, and unfortunately Dennis is no longer with us, and I know it was something that he wanted to put on the front burner. Is there enough advocacy, education programs, support as it relates to understanding about this particular disability?
No, there isn't. And in fact, I found out about the condition and I joined the Myasthenia Gravis Association. We actually celebrate the condition in June. So every June, I have meetings that I would host that would educate you about myasthenia. And I do like to, I also have been doing some TV shows, some TV interviews, radio interviews, trying to help build awareness. And it has been working. There are still people who have the condition or who may have a disability who don't want to speak freely about it. So I have made it my business and my choice to be an advocate, known and unknown, for those people who may have myasthenia gravis who do not want to talk about it, and also to help raise that awareness, because just because we have this condition does not mean that we are crippled, does not mean that we can't do things. Yes, we can do things, but it comes at a cost sometimes. And sometimes we just, if we know we have to do something, we just work around it. So we just say, okay, I know I have to do this, so then I will know I need to rest, I need to go easy the day before so that I have the energy to do this. And we also, the most important thing is to listen to our body. It's still something I'm learning, and even though I have had this condition since 2014, I still push my body to play harder than I really need to, and it unfortunately has consequences.
So how many people?
By me.
So, how many people do we have here that you know of with this issue, with this challenge?
We actually don't have a conclusive number due to the fact that there are still people here with myasthenia gravis who have either been recently diagnosed or who have actually not joined the association. Mm-hmm. So unless they come to the association, we can't have a conclusive number. We've also had one or two members that we've actually lost. So right now we're actually just trying to raise awareness and to get people to join the organization and to see how many people here who have been diagnosed have this condition. Because there are also people who may have the condition who have not been diagnosed.
Wow. So let me ask you about children, because when you said it creeps up on you, is this something that more impacts adults and not children?
There are children that have myasthenia gravis. I know a young girl, 2 young children actually under the age of 10 who actually have myasthenia gravis. And I think it's harder for children because as a child, you want to go to school, you want to go outside and play, you want to go outside and run ball, But because of having myasthenia gravis, it's not always that easy because, let's say, then it means you cannot go out there and run and jump on the monkey bar. So it's harder on children. It's hard on adults as well, but an adult is more adaptable. So we understand that, yes, our body can't do it today. And as we get older, we sometimes like our babies. Children hate their babies. So it's easier on us as adults in some instances. However, for me, it was hard at first because I was accustomed to being on the go. I was accustomed that when crossover came around, I was partying every night and then going to work. And then after my diagnosis, I realized, I still did it at first, and then I realized that I couldn't do it anymore because it was at a very serious detriment to my health. So I had to really slow down a lot, and then people see you, and they may know you have the condition. You may still go out, but you may go out and just stand up and watch everybody enjoying themselves and still be enjoying themselves, and people are accustomed to seeing that. So then everyone assumes something is wrong. So I had to seriously take a step back from a lot of the outings that I did. I still go out, but I sometimes have to sleep before I go, sleep when I come home, because as I said, it's always out of fault.
I was just looking at my phone here. Someone sent a message and asked if there's any special provisions through government for your association, like a subvention.
No, please, there is not. The association solely relies on donations made from corporate Barbados. We also tried, before COVID hit, we would go, and in June we would try to go to the BYNOE, Jardins, and those places and do cake sales and also help to raise awareness. But because of COVID, we've been unable to do any of that. And a lot of the members are very afraid to actually come out because they're catching COVID and the complications that could possibly arise, which is understandable. So we're trying to build this awareness so that hopefully we can get corporate Barbados to come on board, because I know things have been really hard for COVID all around. And also hopefully by raising the awareness for persons with disabilities, there's a way that the government can come on board and help out the organization.
So if you had a wish list from, say, government, what would you need? What would you need for government to do?
If we had a wish list, if it was possible, I would say we would need for government to allow us some funds, give us some funds that we can actually run the organization, or we can actually throw more things where we can actually raise awareness. So not only Myasthenia Gravis, but disabilities. So we can hold conferences, maybe if there are conferences overseas, if there's a way that they can, it doesn't have to be all, they can give a stipend where it helps part subsidize the trip, and we find ways to finish subsidize the trip for that person to go overseas and to listen, because there are a lot of corporations overseas and a lot of organizations for Myasthenia Gravis worldwide, and they hold conferences every year. So the conferences are very informative. So different conditions would have different conferences. So it would be more knowledgeable for us, and it will also bring the knowledge back to Barbados, because we are not as au fait on the treatment of Myasthenia Gravis as the rest of the world. So right now, there's just Professor Carving who treats persons with Myasthenia Gravis. He's the only person in Barbados. So if you go to, I can't go to a normal doctor and say to them, well, I have Myasthenia Gravis. The doctor's going to say to me, well, you need to go to the hospital. If I go to the polyclinic is going to say to me, you need to go to the hospital. So I am hoping that by bringing greater awareness, that we also can bring programs to help train the doctors in how to deal with these disabilities. So it's not just one specialty, but so that general medicine would have a general idea, and they would not have to just wait on professors to confer what treatment he would want for this person. And I think all specialties will benefit from it, because the person may need to have a surgery. So a doctor in general surgery, or two doctors in general surgery, should still have the knowledge of how to deal with a patient with Myasthenia Gravis or even MS. So I think that it would be beneficial all around, because our doctors will be better trained. They will know more about a lot of other conditions that we are now seeing in Barbados, and it will also help in the treatment of our patients, which in turn will give better outcomes all around.
So financially, how does this disability impact you and others financially, or does it?
Yes, it does impact financially. I remember the first time I had a myasthenic crisis, I was at BCC studying, and I went to the hospital. I wasn't feeling well, and I think it was November 30th, I got admitted. I went to the ward. There was there's a medication called Myasthenia. It's actually used to stop a person who's in a myasthenic crisis. However, for me, it actually makes everything that is supposed to make better work. So it can actually put me very close to my deathbed. And then I was the first time I had been in, I got that medication and everything went haywire. So then eventually everything worked out, thankfully. I left the hospital a couple of weeks later, and then in January I went back into another crisis, and I had to get a medication called immunoglobulins, or for short IVIG. Now the last cost I knew of IVIG was $25,000 for a 5-day dosage, and my mother had to pay part of that to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in order for me to receive the treatment. It's free sometimes, but if they don't have it and they have to order it, you have to pay for the IVIG. And so my mother would have had to make two different payments at 2 different times of over $10,000 for me to receive that treatment. So it's very hard financially because it's not that easy to find that sort of money. Also, I don't work full-time. I work part-time at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So because I work part-time, there isn't really much money for savings, or if you get sick, then you still have to take out what little savings you have. So because of that, it really makes it hard. And if there is a way that the IVIG can be free all the time, that would be great, because 10, 15, 20, maybe even $5,000, everyone does not always have it. And if there's a way that maybe we can open up funding where it can go
that's part of the wish list. That's a wish list. That's a wish list right there.
Who have to get these expensive medications, that will go a long way in helping ease someone's mind, because sometimes it can come down to a matter of life and death, or a matter of spending months in the hospital. Because if I had not gotten that medication, I would have had to spend at least about 6 months if I did not improve on the normal medication in the hospital.
Wow, it's a lot. I want to talk quickly though about social services, or the basic services that we all take for granted, like light, water. How does that impact, not having, or any stories you might have heard of persons whose situation at home as far as comfort may not be the best, and then on top of this, this happens. Do you have people in your organization that battle with, say, water issues, etc.? Because one of the things we know for a fact, water impacts everybody. I mean, even if you don't have an issue of a physical or of a mental nature, we all want water, but it is harder on persons from
just doing your own hair. I was sick in April and I was hospitalized, and I discovered, and I have not fully recovered, and something as simple as tying out the clothes, picking up the clothes, putting my hand in my head to do my hair. Sometimes even as simple as getting up and walking to the bottom of the gap. When it comes back, I have to lay down. So if you didn't have anyone around to help you and you have to cart the water, it would be very hard. And a lot of times, we take for granted the fact that, we have water until Barbados Water Authority. When we are doing some work and these areas do not have water, and you come home and you don't have any water, and then you're like, oh dear, what am I going to do? Especially if you don't have any water to pour. And even if you do have bucket, for someone like me, I look normal, and you will never guess that I have what is termed as a disability. You would see me going, I would never guess. I feel horrible because I was still trying to help.
Analysis. Certainly you would want their electricity to be on, and certainly not to have a power outage while they're having dialysis at home, because there's at-home dialysis. So I always want to encourage all of the organizations to not you want special treatment, but you want people to be considerate when they are either doing work in the area, or maybe if they couldn't afford a bill, but in particular if you're doing work in the area, to perhaps look out for the persons who help if needed. So before we wrap up, I want to end with your organization, and in terms of, is there anything that you need is there a bank account set up for the organization? Do we donate? How do you operate with the organization? Is it just for information purposes, or you set up there to make sure that apart from the awareness, of course, you need some financial assistance to help with that awareness?
Right. So the organization does not only offer support to persons or families with myasthenia, because even if you don't have myasthenia and you want to join the organization, you can join the organization as well. Yes, we do have a bank account. I don't have the banking information with me. However, I can give you the email address that you can go to, that you can always send all your queries to that email address, and we also have a website. So the email address is mgabarbados.org.
mgabarbados.org.
Sorry, that's the website. And the email address is Senia, MYASTHENIA1@hotmail.com.
All right, so say that for me one more time for the people in the back, because I'm writing it too, so go again.
Myasthenia, MYASTHENIA. Myasthenia1
at hotmail.com.
So you can, if you have any queries, you can send your queries there. If you want to donate, you can donate there. You can, email the email address, and someone will reach out to you to tell you how you can go about donating. We are also based out of the Council of the Disabled, out by the Garrison Savannah. So we held our meetings there before COVID. We're now trying to get back out to, try to start about holding meetings, because it's also a way for the members to socialize and get to see everyone. So we are hoping that corporate Barbados will come on board, just to help us raise awareness. It doesn't even necessarily have to be in terms of funds. If they want if they want me to come and talk and, just give a speech at any conferences or any training sessions, so people will have a better understanding of what is myasthenia gravis, what happens, if they may have an employee in the workplace who has the condition and they may want to just bring awareness about it for the other workers. I'm willing to speak and also bring awareness. We will accept any monetary contributions to help with persons in the organization who may need it, as well as helping to bring more awareness by pamphlets, attending conferences, even holding conferences.
Okay, fantastic. I want to thank you because I learned a lot too about this disability, and I'm hoping that our viewers learned a lot. And it will probably never be 100%, so we will be real to do. All right? Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye, honey. Bye-bye. When we come back, we're going to take your calls, answer that question. The abbreviation 5Cs, could you sort of tell us exactly what it means? We will be joined by the group, as we normally are joined every other Friday, to talk about the climate crisis. But today we are concentrating a lot on food security and information sharing as it relates to the climate crisis. And we're going to talk to you, and hopefully you can answer that question. What does 5Cs stand for? 228-5563, 228-5562. You are going to get yourself a nice lemon tree, dwarf lemon tree, and you don't have to wait for the lemons because it's got lemons on it already. You're going to get parsley, you got thyme, we got marjoram, sweet peppers. Got them on the screen there. I believe, I'm not quite sure which one. I believe that's the lemon tree. And remember that they're all going to be picked up at Nature's Bloom Garden Center at Sky Mall. That is parsley, or that is I'm pretty bad at this because they all look almost the same, but we have them labeled, and we'll have them labeled. But listen, all you need to know is that we got a lot of herbs for you ready. That's the marjoram for sure. People probably are thinking, Joy, don't you cook? Yes, I do, just not every day. And but for sure, the lime tree, it's valued over, they're a little over $100 worth of the trees today. We want to start your backyard farming. We want you to start food security. We here on Face It and Fix It, we're going to give you that start. And so when we come back, we're going to speak with our friends from 5Cs after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It, our final segment. It is GCF Fridays, 5Cs Fridays, if you want to call it that, with the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, also known as 5Cs. We have with us, as usual, a familiar face, Dr. ELON CADOGAN, GCF's National Project Coordinator. And today he's brought along special guests. As always, we've got our friends, Dr. Rebecca Shapiro from the University of New York. Welcome to Face It and Fix It.
Thank you very much.
Dr. ELON CADOGAN, I will let you start the ball rolling because I want you to give us a little background and introduction as to what Dr. Rebecca Shapiro's role is with the whole climate change aspect with 5Cs and GCF. But just tell us what's happening with you these days. It's great to see you. And how do you feel about companies coming on board and starting some food security right here in Barbados? We started small, but we started today through your show.
Hey, good morning, Joanne. It's quite interesting because I listened to the previous segment with Dr. David Bino, who works at UNDP here in Barbados on the Small Grants Program. And it's just interesting to know that there's so many organizations in Barbados, and it's good to know our other organizations in Barbados are also, in this climate fight. During the last show, we would have talked about, Barbadians doing their small by planting these trees that we're going to give away on the show, also planting trees that they could get on their own. And it's just good to know that, other organizations are working together in this climate fight. And also to see Kirk Brown, as we mentioned during the show, wearing another hat for the first segment. It's just really good that, a lot of Barbadians are actually listening. A lot of Barbadians are actually taking part, they're engaging, and they're actually doing a lot of things that, we hope that they would do. And to join the fight against this climate change. By starting at food security, what's better than being able to grow your own food? And actually, it's kind of good to have us here today because her link to this whole climate change fight is, okay, we actually need people to do things. We actually need people to change their behaviors. And how do we change their behaviors? How do we get that message out there? What are the most effective ways, or what are the ways, or what are the tools that we could use to try to educate persons, as we try to inform persons about the climate crisis and climate fight.
Wow. And Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, I want you to give us a little background about yourself, because apparently we have calls on the line already. People want those trees, and pretty bad. Dr. Rebecca Shapiro?
Yeah. So I met ELON through, Dr. CADOGAN, through a mutual friend who works at UE at the lexicography. And I've spent about much of the last in Barbados, and I spent 7 months here during 2020 and was stuck here. So I sense of how this country for visitors and natural, or well, they're all natural, but human transmitted or natural disasters, and it was a very good experience to have that. And so Dr. and I were discussing how, being educators ourselves, we get information out to our students, and that's one thing that we've been talking about.
Okay.
And I teach in New York, and a lot of my students are from the diaspora, and we discussed how it's meant, what they consider home versus what they consider where they live in New York City.
All right. We're getting a little in and out with you, Dr. Shapiro, so we're going to take a call, but we can hear you, but it's coming through a little bit broken. I'm hoping you can maybe check the connection just a little bit. We do have a caller on the line. We're going to take this call. And welcome to Face It and Fix It, our special segment as we talk about climate crisis and all of the things that we need to do to prepare and make life better for us this side of the globe. Good morning. Good morning. Right, so you're calling to answer the question?
That's right.
All righty. What does 5 C's stand for?
5 C's stands for Caribbean Community Climate Change Center.
Jeez, on me, had to get it on the first go. I was hoping to go like, I was hoping there's that buzzer, right? Bzz, sorry. You are absolutely correct. So what we're going to do, you're going to get that, we're going to give you the lemon tree. Is that the one you want, the lemon tree? Because we've got others.
Yes, please.
You promised to give me your address afterwards so that I can get some lemons from you.
Oh, that's awesome.
I come in, right? Because, we can't afford lemons in the supermarket no more, but I will know where you live. And so while we have your name and address, what we do, we'll pass it on to Nature's Horizon, New Horizon, my apologies, Nature's Bloom Inc. at Sky Mall, only plant shop there. And you will present your identification card. So we're gonna give away others, but that question has been answered. So we're gonna have to find another question. Elon, the phone lines are going crazy, but at least we know, people know exactly, hey man, 5 C's. That answer is Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. What an excellent way to sensitize Barbadians to the very agency that is helping with the fight of climate change as it relates to Water Authority. So that lemon tree is gone. Up for grabs will be the marjoram, the thyme, and some others. But let me pose another question, and I will let Elon give it during this segment. But let's continue to discuss about climate change. Elon, just before Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, she was discussing, asking her about herself. You want to continue, Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, because you were coming through a little bit broken. I want to give you an opportunity to continue.
Yeah, so I appreciate the community reaction and the way that people came together to respond to the and I was also here for it seems like 2 times when there was water insecurity, and it was also a very kind of helpful and useful way that people have come together. And it's in a way a contrast to where I live, which is outside of New York City. The population density of my city is similar to that of Barbados, but we have many more restrictions and many more sort of problems related to making and easy changes. And so I value this here.
Okay, I am hearing you, but just a little bit in and out. I don't know if I don't know if the producer could do anything, but we are getting some of what you're saying, but I'm getting it a little in and out. Dr. CADOGAN, are you still there with us? I wanted to ask, yes, as it relates to the projects that we are hearing about at the Barbados Water Authority, and then we listened to the speeches from the Prime Minister, Mayor Amor Motley. Where are we? And do we have a lot to do as it relates to what she's been speaking about? Let me just bring it down a little bit to the question, not necessarily Barbados Water Authority and the projects, but your general opinion as to the progress that we are making, rather, when we listen to the Prime Minister speak, our wish lists and where we are. What are your thoughts as to, are we going well? Are we doing bad? What are we doing? How does it look from your end?
Okay, well, thanks for the question, Joanne. If we go back to some of the comments that were made, back in 2026 in Glasgow, and it is quite interesting to understand and to appreciate all the works that are being done by small island developing states, especially in the Caribbean. And there are other CARICOM islands or entities that also assist in climate change fight. And when it comes down to Barbados, regarding to what we are actually doing here in Barbados, and one of the major things that that was recognized was that we need to talk to persons more about how they can actually help. By just small, as you mentioned on a couple of times on the show already, just by turning off that additional light bulb. Just by probably making instead of 4 loads of clothes or 5 loads of clothes on a Sunday, making it into 3 loads of clothes, but just small things that Barbadians can do to assist in the climate fight. In general, I believe that based on the work that we have been doing as CARICOM, in general, that we are working hard towards achieving what we're supposed to achieve under our 2030 goals and the Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that through the work of all the CARICOM and all together, because I find that the Caribbean community together, I think of Africa remembers back to 2018, and when this project went towards it, and also in 2019 when the project was also moving into 2020 when we had restrictions due to COVID. I mean, we were presented with some extremely challenging times, but I think that with the direction and the leadership that CARICOM and in Barbados and the various islands have, that every single country is making tremendous strides, towards actually combating and adapting, mitigating to climate change. Even if we mentioned, I'm not going to love it too much, but I guess I want to say there's other countries that are doing tremendous work. I feel like that our colleagues in Grenada as well, they're also doing some amazing work because they also had updated the GCF on the same time. For example, Funding Proposal 59, Funding Proposal 60, Funding Proposal 61, those were the only projects approved back in that time for Caribbean states. So, I mean, talk about where we came from 2019, and then go through the rough period during COVID, and even now, we're now, getting back to some sort of, okay, you know what, yes, sort of to adapt to living in an environment with COVID. I think that we're doing an amazing job. I think that yes, we just have to keep pushing. I think that we don't want to become lackadaisical or whatever. We just want to keep pushing and try to do our part in this.
Okay, I'm going to throw a quick question out there because people are saying, look, you know, that one went too fast. Where is 5Cs located? Where is 5Cs located? We know it stands for Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. Where is the head office? ELON is not there right now. Dr. ELON CADOGAN, he is speaking to us from Barbados. And Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, where are you speaking to us from? You're here in Barbados, right?
Hill.
Say again?
Free Hill.
Hotel?
Free Hill.
Okay, well, Elon.
Black Rock. Black Rock.
I did not. Black Rock. Okay, got it. Got it. So, okay, so the hint is they're both in Barbados, and the answer is not Barbados. So please take that one off. So we are going, you're gonna, if you call and you can answer where is the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, abbreviated as 5Cs, where is it located, the head office, you will get the marjoram. You can put them on the screen, big and bushy. You can get the thyme, you can get the sweet peppers, and you can get the hot peppers. That's four we're going to give away if you can answer that before the end of the show. So I want to now get back to our questions from our guests, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. We'll be back after the break. Okay, so before the break, you know, we put that information out there, that question, where is 5Cs located, Caribbean Community Climate Change Center? So you can call us and give us the answer. But back to our guests, I want to ask Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, as it relates to some of the things that we're doing even here on the show, and the communication to sensitize people about climate change and a call to action. What are some of your views? Are we doing it right? Or, you know, something you want to throw in there? Your views, are we doing it right? Or, you know, something you want to throw in there in terms of what can we do better?
From what I've been able to see, I think that BUS is doing an excellent job. The U.S., where I live and where I teach, is not doing a job. And I think it's particularly problematic because we, like you, are coastal communities and doing a lot more in terms of preparing people for climate change and educating them about it. So one of the things that I do with my students is, 2 days ago, I asked my students, how did they find out about climate change, know about it, are interested, and they're not interested and they don't really investigate it. So then I bring it down to very small, concrete questions. So are you a parent? Yes. Okay. How about this issue with the shortage of baby formula? Well, the plant that has been supplying baby formula is now shut down crazy and have floods in the Midwest. Or if you want want almonds or pecans. They're exorbitantly expensive because of a lack of water in the western U.S. I ask my students, maybe you want to become a vegetarian, and they usually say no. But it's these are the kinds of things that we should be talking to our students about, because climate change seems like this massive and frightening stuff. Like the world is going to catch fire and I can't do anything about it. But in fact, they can. So it's these, meaningful small changes that are important. So for example, bringing your own straw. Every time I go to the corner shop, I buy a soda. I used to get a straw automatically. It turns out it was a Caribbean thing. My neighborhood is Dominican, and now we don't get utensils.
You gotta bring your own cup to buy a snow cone. But a snow cone sometimes in Barbados is like a more impulse buy. But maybe it's good to just have that cup with a cover in your bag or in your car, in case. I mean, those are the little things. But what about the media as it relates to even simplifying things? Because all of these big names, and listen, we thank all of you out there who went to university long, and for us, we thank you. But when we have to, what we call it, dumb it down, bring it down, break it down, I think this is where we lose people in the excitement, because it doesn't sound sexy when they have to refer to the Oxford Dictionary every time we speak. So if we want people in the fight, if we want everybody in, we know that we're, instead of having to choose how to speak to the audience because of this person is this and that person may not be as well educated, it's best just to speak to everybody in simple language. So we have a caller quickly, Elon. That's, people are obviously watching in 5Cs and Fridays. Good morning, you are on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. So the question is, where is the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center? Where is the head office, known as 5Cs? Where is it located?
Is it Belize?
Oh, geez. Listen, nobody around today. Ding, ding, ding. Elon, is that correct? Because you're the 5Cs man. Is that the correct answer, Elon?
Yes, the headquarters for the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, our 5Cs, yes, is in Belize.
It's in Belize. All right. Well, ding, 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 ding. You won. So we have some 4 trees for you, 4 seasonings for you. And again, they're not just the little seedlings. They're actually quite mature. I saw the pictures, and producer probably might put them back up again. But I believe it's marjoram, thyme, the hot pepper, and there was the other one where someone asked me what is that kind of flavored pepper. Someone asked me, what is flavored pepper? I don't know, but that winner will find out and tell us exactly what is flavored pepper. So 4 trees, 4 seedlings been given away just now for that correct answer. Elon, I think this is a fantastic idea, really, to get the ball rolling for the planting in small spaces as it relates to this fight for climate change that is causing the cost of living to go up, and we really can't afford food. Here in Barbados, about that impact, your side of the globe, even though I know you're in Black Rock right now.
Well, there are a couple of issues that are related to this. One, and I've seen it here as well, in a more pronounced way. It's more healthy for the planet and for ourselves and our communities to buy local products or produce. But it's also very expensive because the degree of labor and care and resources to do something as small in a small way is much more expensive, and it's got economy scale, and people might need this, healthy food, aren't necessarily able to acquire it. So they'll go to where they can afford something versus where they probably ought to find something healthier. So that's one thing that's a problem. And there's another thing that's a problem, which is where I live and where I teach and where most of my students are vertical communities. I was talking to ELON about this. Youth have much more of a horizontal area. And when I have students living on the 15th floor of a building, they don't have access to a community garden or a backyard. So there's very little green space that's available for people to do things. And so there's a lag between what we want people to do and what is good for them and what they're actually capable of doing.
Okay. Dr. CADOGAN, back to you now, because the phone lines, or my phone is actually blowing up here because people want to know what's the next question. But we are soon running out of time, because every 2 weeks, every other Friday, I just want to remind everybody, this is what we do here. We talk about the climate crisis through 5 C's, which has been accredited by the GCF, Green Climate Fund. It's all about saving our planet. And the next few questions coming up, not today, but in 2 weeks, I want us to concentrate on the discussion of what is climate adaptation, and then resilience and mitigation. But so for those who are looking forward to the next 2 weeks, ELON, I want you to just break it down a little bit for us. What is climate adaptation? I know the Prime Minister did an excellent job the other day in her press conference when she talked about it, and she says, and what does that mean? Blah, 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 blah. She goes down and she starts to breaks it down for you. I want you to break it down for our viewers right now. What is climate adaptation?
I actually want to take the question a little bit further to also know what climate adaptation is, but also to describe climate mitigation. Or, because it's quite interesting, because we hear these things in a phrase all the time: climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. It sounds like a very good buzzword, or a catchphrase to run with. But what we actually mean by climate, and basically climate would be to adapt to the changing climate, right? So whereas persons, you may think that, okay, adapting to the changing climate, and we talked about, for example, the harvesting. I think this is the adaptation method that you can use to adapt to the fact that, there are limited water resources available here in Barbados. And when we talk about climate change mitigation, we're actually talking about looking at the causes, what actually causes trying to reduce or to mitigate those. For example, let's say moving from burning of fossil fuels to using energy from renewable sources, solar. So that'd be one way in which you can mitigate in terms of climate. I just want to also add that in, not action for next week, but just always like to make that distinction between the two.
No, fantastic. And some of the projects that we are seeing, again, remind us a little bit of, because we're going to do that almost every show. Make sure that the BWA, because they will be on the show, shows to come, because we're going to run this obviously every other Friday until we continue to sensitize. And remember, there's never too much. Repetition is the mother of all skill, and we plan to repeat this process until people get an idea as to what is happening and a call to act. It is not only about listening to Dr.
Some of the works, thank you very much. Some of the works that the Barbados Authority has been doing with the Caribbean Community Center. So a part of our outreach program, and that's one of the things that Dr. SHAPIRO would have mentioned before, how do we get this message to students? How do we get this message to persons generally in the community? So one of the things that we do is that we would go around to the schools, and we use a blended approach, obviously based on COVID-19 protocol. Whereas we do some virtually, and we just hand over the promotional materials to the students. So for example, We would give them coloring books, water bottles. Oh, they have them with the coloring books and the crayons and the pencils and the rulers. And the thing about it is that it's just not about just a coloring book, but it actually has lessons in there about climate change and about valuing water. And we normally try to do this every year around World Water Day, right? So that persons will be aware. And we want to keep that momentum going, where we actually get these students involved. And not only students, but we also do some exchange activity or outreach activities with adults, and also through this media platform. Is that's what we're trying to do, to utilize the media through visual and audio literacy to try to get persons to join in this climate change fight. In regards to the other activities that we're doing, I just mentioned this one because obviously it's quite important to ensure that we try to get everyone along with us in the fight. The other activities include, and we also know this one, the rainwater harvesting tanks that we're installing around communities. And it's quite interesting. We're trying to do this now, knowing that the hurricane season, we're in the hurricane season. I think we spoke about that one with the Mr. Murray from the BMS, Barbados Meteorological Services. So we're trying to do things to actually help Barbadians prepare for the changing climate.
Well, the children seem very, very happy for sure with all of the information shared. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and we're going to wrap up with some final words from GCF 5Cs. And of course, our special guest, Dr. Rebecca Shapiro. Love the name, love the name. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Face It and Fix It as we come to the end of GCF Fridays with Dr. ELON CADOGAN, our special guest, Dr. Rebecca Shapiro. We're going to give them some final words for this show. Dr. Rebecca Shapiro, final words in 1 minute as it relates to communicating the message on climate change.
Important for people, especially younger people, to be able to find information that is meaningful and relevant to them. So most of them get their news on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter. And so if they can look for maybe government-funded entities, public entities, educational entities. So if they're going to TikTok or if they're going to go to Instagram, try to look for sponsored, government-sponsored or educational. And I think government education ought to go where the students are and the young people are as well.
Thank you so much, and Dr. ELON CADOGAN. I know the time has gone quickly. We didn't get to cover everything, but we know we're here every other Friday. Let's talk a little bit and end it on communication and putting the information out there on not only just 5Cs in the work, but climate change in general.
Yes, I think that what is quite interesting is that when we start at the beginning, I know where we are, we actually could actually give away trees to the person's basic sector investment. And I think persons don't give the private sector sometimes. Yes, we wanted to do a little bit more all the time. I guess want to say for those private sector company and stuff that have joined the fight thus far. I hope that you are the first set of many others to join, and I guess we should continue to utilize this medium to to engage the public and to try to get that message out there that climate change is real and we need to do our part. I guess once again, thank you to all the sponsors thus far. Of course, thanks to the Barbados Anti-Green Climate Fund, and I guess that we have a lot of work to do and we need everyone to be this fight together.
And thank you so much. And again, I want to remind everybody that the trees that you saw today and the many trees, there are over 100 trees that will be given away over the next couple of weeks. It might be 200-300 trees that we're going to give away. And of course, as we get more sponsors, that will go up. And those trees were sponsored by ProSource Limited. Remember those great people that changed their garbage cans and put the new ones out? Well, they're thinking, you know what, let's repurpose those old garbage cans, and they invested some money to give all Barbadians some trees to start some backyard farming. Of course, the trees can be collected at New Horizon Nature's Bloom Inc. Garden Center, and that's just next door at Sky Mall. You got to take your ID card and you will be able to pick up your winnings. If you have a name similar to Dr. ELON CADOGAN or share the same name, you better not have the same ID number because you're not going to get the trees. So I want to thank you all so much. And Dr. CADOGAN, I believe we may have a Water Authority on the next show. We're hopeful. As we know today that we actually wanted them on today, but we want to apologize on their behalf. There was a seminar that Jamie Paul, let's say, really good speaker, wanted to be here, but I believe we're going to get her probably for the next show and book her there so we'll get some information about how the rain falls and what happens. I want to thank both of you very, very much. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks, 2 Fridays from now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're coming to the end, and there are a few things that I want to remind you about here in Barbados. This is a climate crisis, as the Prime Minister says, and we do have to think about our food and production, and we do have to try to help ourselves, as we have been advised that the road is going to be a little bit rough. And here at CBC TV8, through this show, Face It and Fix It, we certainly would love to help encourage Barbadians to start planting your own food. And we've started that process. We're not just here to discuss. We're not here just to only educate. We want you to act, and we want you to act now. So we've given you a little push, and we're going to continue to give you that little push every other Friday. You call us, you tell us about climate change, you answer the questions, we sensitize you, we give you some trees to plant in your backyard, and we want to teach you how to plant food in small spaces. We're not really going to give plants for people who have bigger plots of land, like 3 acres and so on and so forth, but certainly the smaller communities, the housing areas, do not think that your backyard is too small. It isn't. You can plant your own food. It is our goal to get as many lime trees as we can. We've asked those who are sponsoring and those who are providing, which is the New Horizon Nature's Bloom Inc., if they can source more dwarf trees. We want you to eat faster, and we want those trees to come a little bit more mature onto the island as we continue to encourage Barbadians to feed themselves. This is all about what food security is about. My name is Joanne Haigh. I want you to have a great weekend, and happy Father's Day to all your fathers. Perhaps you can buy a tree for Dad. Let him plant it in the backyard and start some food security going on there with Daddy. That would be a great idea, maybe for Father's Day. So take care, and I'll see you on Monday. God bless.